Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another weather forecast here by Agent Weather Forecast. This is not going to be a look into tomorrow's severe weather threat. This is actually going to be a look into today's severe weather threat. Actually, we have up to a level 3 enhanced risk, which is actually very unexpected, but we do have now the enhanced risk. Tornado threats maintaining on the lower side, so not really looking like we're going to be seeing really any tornadoes. If not, if we do, they'll be on the weaker side, if not just some smaller spin ups. And then we also have this higher threat of possibly some very strong straight line winds, and then some scattered spots that could be seeing some decent sized hail, maybe half inch sized hail to maybe inch sized hail, really maximum size. Not going to be a huge threat. Also going to be seeing that threat for some spawn up storms that could, of course, could bring in some very strong winds, of course, and possibly for even some flash flooding, but that'll be throughout those areas that are off the Mississippi River. But if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, guys. Also, I'll be, of course, making more updates on tomorrow's severe weather threat, that, of course, tomorrow. But without further ado, let's get in this video. So really not going to be seeing, of course, a huge tornado threats. Maintain on the lower side. Our main threat is going to be more of the wind. So these bands and potential, if these are squall lines, it's very likely they are with this incoming cold front. We'll possibly, of course, potentially see some very strong and fast-moving bands throughout areas into the Mississippi River. So here we have our severe thunderstorm watches and warnings here. Watches are in this kind of reddish brown somewhat color there, and then we have severe thunderstorm warnings in the orange counties. But we actually do have a tornado warning now in effect for southeastern Missouri. This is a very strong band that's going to be moving these areas, of course, now moving over into Illinois, into the Kentucky border as well. So you can kind of see a very strong, somewhat wall cloud formation and that huge formation there. Seeing that heaviest precipitation right on the beginning of this band. So that's what we usually see in this, of course, potential for a huge wall cloud and shelf clouds that's going to be moving out there into, I believe that Sheston, heading towards the Mayfield area, Paducah, Cape Girardeau. Those are going to be areas that will be impacted really by these very strong bands, and maybe even seeing this lower outskirts of this heading towards maybe even Nashville, or if not Jackson, Tennessee. So we do have, of course, a tornado warning just north of Sykes-Town and just west of Cape Girardeau. It looks like it will be heading in between the Paducah areas and Mayfield, Kentucky, so very likely these severe thunderstorm warnings will obviously start extending a bit more to the east as of right now. Let's go ahead and refresh, making sure everything's new here. So we even have these widespread tornado watches throughout Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, and Illinois. All of these are kind of the far tips of the states, as you can tell, so it's really a widespread threat, though, for multiple states, but kind of maintaining on that tip of these states. So, but as we get later today, we'll be seeing that threat continuing on more into Kentucky, Illinois, and even Tennessee. But that's what we have right now. So, of course, we're going to be seeing some very strong wind gusts, especially in those areas in the severe thunderstorm warnings. We'll be seeing these very strong potential squall lines that will producing possibly 40+ mile per hour wind gusts. But in general, not seeing a huge really severe thunderstorm related winds. Also going to be seeing more of like kind of just in general really strong winds from these very strong straight line shear there. So now as we look into today's outlook, so we do have an enhanced risk here, of course. So this is what we have right now, right here into parts of southeastern Missouri, far southern Illinois, far western Kentucky, northwestern Tennessee, and far northeastern Arkansas. So that's where we have our areas of enhanced risk, our highest risk as of today. So that's really going to be seeing our best threat for really, of course, the best threat for really strong winds and potentially hail. And then we have to have that widespread slight risk extending all the way to West Virginia. We'll be seeing these scattered, really strong pop-up storms, though, but those be really minor threats in these whatsoever. Really not going to be seeing a huge major threats in any of these bands whatsoever, but we still have that possibility for some very strong winds and some scattered areas that could be seeing decent-sized hail. And I would not definitely have one or two tornadoes, maybe just one report for today, but I really don't think we'll be seeing really a tornado report as of right now for today. Tornado threat, like I said, is maintaining very low, only a 2% chance, so really 2% chance, that's considered very, very low. So just because you're in 2% chance doesn't mean you can just rule out that possibly for tornadoes, but you still have to watch out a little bit. But it's not like you have to go in the basement, or as of right now you don't have to maybe have food and all that. As of right now you're fine. Just be on the lookout in case you're in the 2% chance, because we've had multiple tornado reports in areas that are only under a 2% chance. Hail threat's a bit on the higher, it's a bit higher, but it's not really extremely high, only a 15% chance, but that's going to be including really big cities like getting closer to Lexington, Nashville, Paducah, also Poplar Bluff, getting closer to Jonesboro, and other areas as well. even Clarksville. So this is where we have our hail threat. Really, hail is not going to be too much of a threat when it comes to size. But it'll be a bit more widespread. And that wind threat is the real reason why we have this enhanced risk. It's because we have a 30% chance for that wind. So that's why we had the enhanced risk, because that threat for wind was enough to extend it a bit more to another level. So that's, like I said, that wind's going to be mainly the primary threat. That's going to be for those areas that are in the enhanced risk. So watch out. You can definitely see with the saturated soil, maybe some branches and maybe some trees that get uprooted if we have very powerful, strong gusts. But now let's get actually into the radars here. It's okay. So now we're going to be go ahead and taking a look at the radar here on the NAM3KM model on the tropical tidbits. So this is where we have this possibility for some these really strong pop-up storms developing here. So very widespread threat, which is why we have that very widespread threat for that wind and hail as well. But of course, the tornado threat's going to be maintaining in this area with a 2% chance. But of course, still very unlikely to see any tornadoes. But we're going to be seeing some very strong rain. Could be seeing some strong downpours in some areas, of course, at some points in these bands. And it's going to continue moving on, of course, into western Kentucky, much of western Tennessee, Memphis. You guys kind of going to avoid the worst of this, but you guys see some brief showers, and then we'll be seeing that kind of the worst of it now, moving straight over the Nashville area. It's going to be as well moving to an overnight threat. So very likely you guys are definitely on the watch, on the lookout, just because it's going to be overnight. Doesn't mean you're going to be seeing tornado threats just because it's overnight, and when you're going to be seeing a strong band moving, you just want to be a bit weather aware. So just watch out. Make sure you have a plan just in case. It doesn't mean you're going to have anything. It's overnight, so you just want to be prepared, especially when it's dark and you're going to be close to sleeping. Then we'll be seeing even some really strong bands moving to the mid-Atlantic. So like I said, a very widespread threat. Going to be seeing even scattered bands into southeastern Kentucky. Not major, really just strong straight line winds there. And then by later into tomorrow, things will start to clear up. But then, of course, that's when we see that brewing severe weather out there into the south central and even parts of the north central plains where that heavier rain, all of that. Now we're going to be looking at the European model here. So like I said, you're just going to be seeing that widespread threat. You're going to be seeing that potential out there for the Ohio Valley and, of course, out there into the south areas in the Ozark Mountains. Powerful bands heading towards the Poplar Bluff area. And then, of course, seeing multiple bands now developing. We'll be seeing a decent amount of Cape. It's not going to be impressive, but just the moisture and all the humidity, overday heating, we will have this possibility for some brewing pop-up storms. Of course, with the very warm temperatures in these areas, going to be seeing some 70s, some 80s in some areas, but that's going to be seeing that pop-up storms with also the humidity, moisture, and the Cape Valleys. Not impressive, but the Cape Valleys could still, of course, aren't extremely low as well. So some models actually show 5,000 joules per kilogram, 4,000 joules per kilogram. The other most models as well also show up to 1,200 joules per kilogram, 1,000 to 2,000 joules per kilogram, which is what's really looking like it's going to happen there. But we still have that threat out there into West Virginia, Virginias in general. You guys are going to get really hit really hard with this very heavy rain, and again, the really strong pop-up storms as well. Really, that's what we have possibly our best chance for seeing this. If we have really large hail, it will be in those areas, maybe an inch-sized hail. Don't really seeing more than an inch and a half. But of course, we can definitely be surprised with large hail, and it's going to head towards the Nashville area, and of course, these strong pop-up storms all the way into Delaware, all the way into the Maryland and Virginia, really in the vicinity in those areas. And of course, by later tomorrow, the threat does go down. So this is really going to be one of the only areas that does show these higher Cape values. So this we're going to be seeing some potential, so a lot of energy in general. Definitely going to be seeing all those temperatures, the humidity. The energy is going to be kind of brewing a little bit out here into parts of Kentucky where we had a severe weather developing. We're going to be seeing around 1,200 joules per kilogram. Like I said, it's going to be really on the lower side. But for other areas as well, right here into the where we have the main severe weather threat, where we have the enhanced risk, that is where we have around 2,000 to 2,400 joules per kilogram. So, like I said, Cape values aren't very impressive, aren't very high, but they are decently high enough to cause pop-up storms. Because again, 2,400 joules per kilogram is enough to cause pop-up storms. And then we'll continue to see now these numbers dying down as the severe weather does diminish. And you see that little bit of a threat, or that little bit of higher numbers into the mid-Atlantic. We'll be seeing mainly 800 to 1,100 joules per kilogram there. Like I said, not going to be impressive amounts as well. Now we're going to be looking at, go ahead and now look at the surface-based Cape here as well in the pivotal weather. So same thing, showing around 1,000, in between 1,000 to 2,000 joules per kilogram. We're really going to be seeing 2,100 up there at Arkansas. That is, of course, we have those severe thunderstorm for warnings and watches, and seeing these widespread mid to high thousands. As we get later into today, that number does get a bit higher, especially throughout as it is going to overnight hours now to early tomorrow morning, where that is moving throughout the central and the western parts of Tennessee still. Going to be seeing now some mid 2000s, so seeing a bit more energy, but of course it does diminish into tomorrow, later into tomorrow, around kind of late morning to early afternoon. And then as we get now into the bulk shear, like I said, shear is not extremely impressive, but we're still going to be seeing some really strong winds and really strong straight line winds. Going to be seeing some 60 knots, 70 knots in the higher atmosphere. So could obviously see some stronger gusts in these severe weather, but then going to be seeing these areas of some strong straight line winds. In these areas, it's actually going to be seeing also that while we're going to be seeing these severe weather bands moving incredibly fast. So this is where we have the severe thunderstorm, or that tornado warning has expired now, but severe thunderstorm warnings have now pushed a bit more to the east, now stretching a bit more into Tennessee and Kentucky. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and bye guys.